morning, MU Ideas. I'm Yumin from 1205, and I'm here in the studio today with Pammy. We're from the Broadcasting Club, and we're here every Wednesday from 7:45 to 8:15. So don't forget to tune in for your weekly content and entertainment.
As a reminder that if any teachers are listening at this point, we know you are in a meeting right now, so feel free to switch off the PA system in your room. You can do that using the neat little volume knob right next to one of the doors.
But before we go on to our exciting new topic today, I would like to give a shout out to Mint and Grace, who's running the tech side of the show today, and Renee, Thai, and Am for help writing the script. By the way, if anyone's interested in joining, we are always open for new members. Feel free to contact one of us via the Google form in the line group or our Instagram at MUIDS Broadcast.
So this week's quote is from the 1994 movie Forrest Gump. Life was like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get. And before we get in our main content today, let's move on to our announcements. Firstly, the MUIC University visit will be held today in the auditorium from 3:30 onwards. Other than that, a seminar on portfolio preparation will be held in the seminar hall. Tomorrow, the Link P8 and the Lion Bliss Rogers University visit will be held on Thursday in room 301. Finally, don't forget that today is day C.
As for our world news segment, today's news is from The Guardian. As of 11 September this year, Sir Ian Wilmot has died at the age of 79. He was the man who led the team that created Dolly, which was the first mammal to be cloned from an adult cell. Professor Wilmot headed a group of scientists at the Roslin Institute at the University of Edinburgh to create the sheep, which was born on the 5th of July, 1996. According to Professor Sir Peter Matheson, the principal and vice chancellor of the University of Edinburgh, he was the titan of the scientific world. Other than that, he also added that Wilmot's experiment had transformed scientific thinking at the time. Wow, sheep have previously been cloned from embryonic cells. Dolly was the first to be created from a cultured memory cell, combining the memory gland of a 6-year-old from the Dorset sheep and an egg cell taken from a Scottish black-faced sheep.
Wow, that was breathtaking indeed. The breakthrough marked a career high point for Wilmot, who had been working in the field of animal science and preservation since the late 1960s. In 1973, he was part of a team at the University of Cambridge that created Frosty, also known as the first calf to be born from frozen embryo. When the news of Dolly's cloning first broke in The Observer in February 1997, it created a media frenzy and sparked public debate about the ethics of cloning, including fears and the techniques may be used in the future to clone humans. Wilmot described the prospect of human cloning as repugnant, which means disgusting. He told the New York Times that his work doesn't have anything to do with creating copies of human beings. Instead, he said the breakthrough would enable scientists to study genetic diseases for which there are no known cure. Dolly, who was jokingly named after the country singer Dolly Parton, went on to give birth to 6 labs and spent the rest of her life among a flock of at the Roslin Institute near Edinburgh. She was put to sleep in 2003, age 6, after suffering arthritis and a violence-induced lung disease. After her death, her body was donated to the National Museum of Scotland, where she has been on display since 2003.
In 2007, 4 more sheep derived from the same batch of cells as Dolly were born, and were used in research into the long-term health effects of cloning. Wilmot's interest in the field continued throughout his career, and in particular, he turned his attention to researching how stem cells could be used in regenerative medicine. In 2006, he was made the first director of the MRC Center for Regenerative Medicine at the University of Edinburgh, and 2 years later was knighted in the 2008 New Year Honors List for services to science. He retired in 2012 and revealed in 2018 that, sadly, he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Sadly.
Speaking to reporters on the eve of Dolly's 20th anniversary in 2016, Wilmot said that without Dolly, stem cell research could be 20 years behind, but he admitted that he had been overenthusiastic about the speed at which stem cell therapies would help patients, and said the prospect of their widespread use to treat degenerative conditions such as Parkinson's was likely to be decades away.
Moving on from all the serious stuff, I would like to introduce our fresh and new topic for this week, which is movies. Shout out to Lenny from 1201 for recommending this topic. And as always, we are always open for new suggestions for our content or general feedbacks about our broadcast. In this topic, we will be talking about movies that are currently in the cinema and introducing upcoming movies that you might be interested in. So maybe this weekend you can have an excuse to ask someone you like out to watch one of these movies.
That sounds interesting, Cami. Let's see what's in cinemas right now then. I feel like all three movies we are going to talk about today all fit in the same two genres, horror and thriller. I guess this means that we're coming close to spooky season. But before we do so, please note that since these are horror movies, they are not light. So most of them are rated R for parent advisory, so please watch only with your parents' permission. So, the first movie we would like to recommend is Talk to Me. It is a recent horror thriller movie from the indie film company A24. It is directed by twin directors Danny and Michael Philippou and is their directorial theatrical debut. However, you may have heard of their names before because they both gained popularity from their YouTube channel Raka Raka, where they created face-offs between fictional characters such as Ronald McDonald and Burger King. How weird.
How weird indeed. Anyways, Talk to Me is a movie about a group of friends who discover how to conjure spirits with an ensemble hand. So they turn it into a party game. However, one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. The movie's dark and gloomy cinematography creates an eerie feeling for the audience, which makes it quite an exciting watch. Its currently IMDb rating is at 73, no, 7.3 out of 10, and it is called an ingenious, terrifying horror thriller by one critic, and many say it is the best horror movie of 2023 so far. But I will leave you that up to your judgment.
I think that is a very creative movie with many things never really done or seen before, such as the camera movements that are sudden, and because the directors are from YouTube, the movie does have a quick and sharp vibe to it, similar to a YouTube video. It is indeed a horror movie made by and for the internet generation. If you're someone who is up for the challenge, and especially if you are bored of old horror tropes and cliches, we recommend Talk to Me. This movie will present you with something you have never seen in other horror movies before. However, be aware that this movie is rated R, as it contains bloody violent content and strong language. So please seek parental supervision when you are watching.
Wow, it's such a very interesting movie indeed. But let's get on to the next movie. The next movie we would like to recommend to you is The Nun 2. Many of you have heard about this movie, and it is a part of the Conjuring cinematic universe. The horror mystery thriller movie is a sequel to the very popular film named The Nun. It follows the event 4 years after the first film and is set in France rather than Romania. There are priests there. A priest is murdered, and the main character named Sister Irene comes face to face with the antagonist, Valak, once again. Actually, during this scene, it seems that there is going to be a new battle between Irene and Valak, as well as a fight between good and evil.
This movie is distributed by Warner Brothers and directed by Michael Chaves, who also directed the third Conjuring movie. The current IMDb for this movie is at 6.0 out of 10. For some, it could be that the scenes in this movie are not as effective as the previous one. However, your opinions might differ. Unlike Talk to Me, The Nun 2 utilizes jump scares instead of creating a suspenseful atmosphere. So, if you like jump scares rather than creepy feelings that stick with you even after the movie ends, this is the movie for you. By the way, if you're already a fan of this cinematic universe, we recommend you check this movie out as it will expand on the previous movies and may even introduce new plot lines. However, we still need to note that, like Talk to Me, The Nun is rated R for its violent content and intense horror. We strongly encourage parental supervision.
The last movie is The Haunting Movie in Venus, directed by Kenneth Branagh, which is a British actor who also plays Hercule Poirot, the main protagonist. This film is based on the 1969 novel uh, named Halloween Party by famous mystery author Agatha Christie. You may have heard about the movies Murder on the Orient Express and Death of the Nile, which are both movies adapted from Christie's novel. This is a movie like the previous ones. It fits in the genre of crime and drama. However, it introduces some horror and supernatural events, something that the previous two films did not have. In the film, the famous detective Hercule Poirot is retired and living alone in Venice.
Nevertheless, people are still eager for him to return back to detective work, which he refuses, until an old acquaintance invites him to a seance at a decaying haunted castle. He unwillingly gets pushed into a sinister world of shadows and secrets when one of the guests is murdered. Its current IMDb rating is at 6.8 out of 10. Different from the previous two movies we recommended, A Haunting in Venice does not focus solely on the supernatural forces present in the movie. It instead is more of a whodunit murder mystery. I watched this movie last weekend, and despite its slow pacing at the beginning of the movie, I enjoyed it. Branagh does an excellent job of distracting the audience and throwing them off track, making the reveal of the murderer at the end unpredictable. The atmosphere building was executed brilliantly, creating a ghostly yet suspenseful feeling. Additionally, the cast consists of known stars such as Academy Award winning actress Michelle Yeoh, so you are in for a treat with her performance.
If you are someone who is already an Agatha Christie fan, you definitely cannot miss this movie. And if you enjoy murder mysteries rather than supernatural horror movies, then A Haunting in Venus is for you, especially. Compared to Talk to Me and The Nun 2, this movie ranks last on the scariness scale, even though there is a few jump scares in the story progress, like a typical murder mystery with investigations, interrogations, and had a big review at the end. Lastly, the movie is rated PG-13, so no worries for you or your parents.
To sum up all three movies we just talked about, Talk to Me, the first one, is a new experimental horror movie that uses atmospheric techniques rather than jump scares to terrify the audience. However, it is ranked the scariest of all three, so I would keep that in mind. The second movie, The Nun 2, is a blockbuster sequel to a well-known cinematic universe and does have a lot of jump scares, so be aware of that. And it also has the lowest IMDb rating out of all three. But that is critics, so it doesn't really matter. And the last one, A Haunting in Venice, is a murder mystery movie with a hint of supernatural forces. Therefore, it would be the least scariest of all three and be the most suspenseful.
At the end of the day, it depends on your opinion which one do you want to watch. So that's all for today. Again, thank you for listening and be sure to check one of our three movies out if you have time or not. Not do not know what to do this weekend and let us know what you think. But before watching, we want to reiterate again that you should look at the advisory labels closely. That's all for today. So see you next Wednesday and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.